Hello and welcome to Talking Songs with me, Roland Jones. Here we are again. Here we are again. I can't think what else I've got to say over that. Yes, things are starting to pick up. Hope those of you who are looking forward to performing in the near future are starting to get some gigs coming in. I've had a few coming in, which is rather pleasant. So I shall be heading off to sunny Skegness in January to play at the Rock and Blues Festival, which will be my third attendance. But this time I should have the band with me as well, which would be rather good fun. So if you're fan of the blues, and it's basically it's called the Rock and Blues Festival, but it's got a whole range of things that go on in it. There's quite a serious variety, and good. Although I would say if you are going, it's bloody cold on that coast. Gee. Anyway, so what have we got today? Well, before I introduce my guest for today, I have a little tune to play for you. Now this is a new song. This is fresh to the extent where the ink is still wet, if I can use that metaphor. This actually started as an idea some months ago, and we were staying at Leslie's son's house, and we turned the telly on and got Netflix and various other things came up. And there were so many remotes in that room, I couldn't work out what I was meant to be doing. I wasn't sure whether I was switching on the air conditioning or the TV or whatever. And eventually we got to a page and it offered us something like 2,500 different films. And Leslie said, "What do you want to watch?" I said, "I don't know. I don't need that much choice. I want to be able to look at the paper and say, well, there's 4 channels. I can have that one or that one, and that'll do, because I can't be doing with it all." I can't think what we did watch in the end. I'm not sure we watched anything. I think we just made a cup of coffee. This is a song which is called "There's Just Too Much," and inspired by the by the shock of seeing that there were 2,500 films waiting to be watched. So this is its first outing. There is just too much of everything. Too much to listen to, and too much to read. There is so much of everything, much more than I want, and so much more than I need. You can sing to the world, but nobody is listening. You can shout out loud, but no one hears a word. Send a message to your friend, a message to your lover. Send a message to everyone, but why not just talk to each other? There is just too much of everything. Too much to listen to, and too much to read. There is so much of everything, much more than I want, and so much more than I need. Billions of words, were they worth writing? Or millions of melodies were never to be heard. Messages in their thousands, pictures by the score. There's so much information, I just can't take any more. Because there's just too much of everything. Too much to listen to, and too much to read. There is so much much of everything, much more than I want, and so much more than I need. They say it's the age of communication. Seems like a one-way street that's going nowhere. There is no time to ask if you want an answer, as there's no one to listen and no one to care. Yes, there is just too much of everything, but too much to listen to and too much to read. Well, there is so much of everything, much more than I want, and so much more than I need. There is just too much. Just too much. Oh, clonk, clonk, wallop. Yes, that's my effort for the day. It's just, I have this thing, once I've actually written a song, I need to perform it somewhere or other. I can't just, lots of people like to just write them straight away and then record them. I can't do that because I need to have some sort of, need to let it stew for a while. That's not really a romantic word, is it? What do I mean? I need, it's to evolve. That's a bit better, isn't it? So, now I'd like to introduce my guest for this evening, who is Ms. Where are you?
Here I am.
Debbie Cassell. How are you doing?
Hello. Yeah, good, thanks. And it's just brilliant to be asked to do this, I must say. And it's been very nice to have a chat and, you know, sort of, yeah, and lovely tune. And yes, very sadly, what can we say?
Yeah, it's one of those things. I remember once somebody pointing out the fact that if you go into sort of different stores and different shops, they project images in a different way. If you went into somewhere like, I don't know, Primark, you'd see thousands and thousands of different things, you know, and you go into Marks and Spencer's and there's fewer. And then you go to Bond Street and there'll be a dress shop with one dress in the window, you know, but that's the one you'll crave, you know, and not necessarily I'm saying craving dresses, that's not a personal thing, though I've got nothing against that.
Pleased to meet you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, the choice. But anyway, so my choice of today, Debbie Cassell. So what's music to you, Debbie? When did it all start?
Wow, gosh, I mean to say, I can't remember a time in my life when I haven't had, you know, a soundtrack in my head, really. I mean, I can't remember not being obsessed in some way, shape or form. Yeah, I mean, I suppose, and kind of growing up in the 60s and 70s, it was sort of, gosh, there was just, well, there still is some great stuff around, harder to find in some ways now.
Because there's so much.
Because as you say, there's so much to you know, to listen to. But, yeah, I mean, I suppose...
When did you start with the guitar then?
Oh God, I had a toy. We were given a toy one at some point, and I mean, being obsessed with, you know, the Beatles, the Stones, the Kinks, everybody. I mean, I can remember sort of prancing around the house and garden, kind of miming.
I'll let that sink in for people watching.
And it was actually, oh God, I just thought it was so beautiful. This thing, I suppose it was probably based on a telly or a Strat, the shape of it, and it was this white plastic body.
Oh right, I can see it.
With a red neck. Wow. Oof. I mean, I just thought it was, and it had lyrics of songs on the, you know, came in the packaging. So I didn't want to throw the packaging away because it was kind of. But it was weird though, because actually I was thinking about this because I wasn't sure, obviously, where the conversation was going to go about songs. But isn't it weird about how? I mean, I think all the way through, because now you can look up lyrics online if you want to do, you know, if you want to cover a song. But then you had to. Well, I mean, I didn't have any pocket money to buy records until I was, you know, I don't know, certainly in my mid-teens. And so it was a matter of either listening on the racing to the radio every time the song that you wanted to play was on and trying to hear. But I think I probably misheard and misquoted.
Oh God,
thousands.
Yes, yeah. There is a website called kissthisguy.com, right? Which is based on just that. There is a word for it. I can't remember what it begins with an M that means misheard lyrics. But this site is called Kiss This Guy because that's the misheard version of the Hendrix song. Because what he actually sings is "Excuse me while I kiss the sky."
I kiss the sky. Excuse me while I kiss this guy.
Yeah, and there's some wonderful stuff on it. Madonna singing "Last Night I Dreamt of Some Dago," you know, things like, it's just unbelievable what people grew up believing, you know.
Brilliant.
It's yeah, it's very, very funny and very, very common. And
God,
in fact, there's one of my songs has the I've got the True Blues. I've paid my dues. And I sang it in a jam session some years ago when I first came back to Manchester, and the following week, somebody from one of the punters there came over and said, "Well, can I sing you?" I chapped in for me. Can I sing that song with you? And I said, "Yeah, sure." And that was fine until I realised he was singing "I've Been Abused."
Okay, actually, why am I laughing? But yeah, oh God, I mean,
yeah, I don't know if he thought I had. No, anyway, I think he just misheard it. I'll leave it at that. So anyway, yes. So back to you. Back to you.
Diana was the Diana Ross. I remember, you know, the after she'd left the Supremes and the still waiting for you, and she in the break it was "I'm just a fool," you know, and also, but my friend thought it was "I'm Doctor Who," and we all absolutely, I can remember spending a whole
that's
night
great,
killing ourselves laughing over
right that. I like it,
but not that we had any, you know, claim to any higher ground really on that, but yes.
So I definitely recommend anybody out there who's not seen it to check out kissthisguy.com.
I definitely will have a look. That sounds like a classic.
Okay, so you were obsessed with songs in the 60s and 70s. You were learning them from the radio. Were other members of your family were musicians?
Well, neither of my parents were really, although they both really enjoyed, you know, they loved what they liked. So my dad was very into jazz, and my mum liked kind of, I don't know, you know, they sort of converged on people like, you know, Ella Fitzgerald and the sort of, you know, the classics, I guess. And then Mum sort of liked, occasionally she would say, "Well, I do like Mr. Tambourine Man" by the Byrds. I remember she liked that. And Everyone's Gone to the Moon.
Oh, right.
She liked that. And sort of, and Bacharach and that kind of thing. But she was more into sort of classical music really than jazz. It was Dad who was the jazz fan. But they didn't play an instrument or anything or sing. And if you try, you know, when I was racing around trying to kind of boss everyone into singing along with me, they would always go, you know, "You carry on." But my grandparents, my grandmother played the piano, and I think my great grandmother actually was a very good pianist. But I mean, I think she taught it actually, possibly.
But again, there was a huge difference, wasn't it? I mean, certainly when I was at school, people were sent for piano lessons. That was quite, you know, a traditional part of growing up. And there were very few. I mean, by the time I was in secondary school, yes, there were people playing guitars, but I think I only knew one person who actually had lessons, you know, proper sort of going to a teacher type lessons. Yeah. Whereas these days, I mean, it's almost, it's part of the process, isn't it? That people, somebody did once say that any man over the age of 40 will claim that he plays the guitar, but I think, for better or for worse. But so the culture has changed a lot, and the guitar is more more not respected in the sort of classical sense as much, but just sort of accepted as being part of growing up, really. So okay, let's have. Shall we have a song? What would you like to sing for us first?
Oh goodness me! Oh, that was a right. Okay, well, this is one. Actually, I've got a couple of very good friends who are also musicians. One of them is Sally Barker, who I'm sure you've probably heard of. Fabulous singer-songwriter, and what can I say? And someone else, Vicky Genfan, who's a fantastic guitarist, and singer too, but gosh, her guitar playing is fabulous. Anyway, they were doing an album together about 4 years ago or so, I suppose, and Sally and I were doing a Fotheringay sort of trib tour at the time, and she got they were working on all these little snips, and they got lots of little tunes.
Should we say at this point, for those of you who don't know what Fotheringay is, do Google him.
Oh God, Sandy Denny.
Yes, it's
that's all I need to say, really. Yeah. So she and I were Sandy Denny for a while. Well, I was only Sandy Denny for a short time, but she'd done this, this started off doing this tour, and anyway, so we on the journeys to the gigs, because as usual it was Bristol to Yorkshire and Yorkshire to, she was playing me these little bits of tunes, and there were a couple that I said, oh, pretty, and she said, oh, do you fancy having we're a bit stuck on this one. Do you want to have a go at doing some lyrics? Right. So I said okay, went away, and then coincidentally, sort of at round about the same time, I'd been doing my journey to work, takes me past very pretty, and as I go through this little tiny village, there's this abandoned old phone booth, and it looks so sad because it's just and as the kind of year, I suppose I've been doing this journey for about 4 or 5 years now, and every winter it looks a little bit sadder. And the thing is, the phone box, back in day, when we didn't have a mobile, it was the sound of the pips was kind of a leitmotif, really, in my throughout my teenage years, and all the if there was any boy that I wanted to have a covert communication with, it was always from the phone box at the top of the road, and I'd have to make an excuse to sneak out to this disgusting sort of, with the panes of glass kind of tumbling out, and because you could get the number of the phone box and call.
Yes, yeah.
Anyway, so it's kind of in the song, really, but in some ways they were horrible, weren't they? Sometimes we won't say what happened in them.
Yes, it's moved swiftly on.
But they were, gosh, vital, and I still sometimes think, what if you can't get any mobile signal? Then what? And I'll leave you with that thought. Anyway, this is the Little Red Box.
Okay.
Tumble down phone booth is all by itself on the green. Killed by the mobile, ravaged by vandals and rain. When I think of the hours that I dreamed, showing hearts and our names in the steam of the little red box. 10 pence for hello, 20 for how was your day. For 50 I love you, when will I see you again? Then the Pip said we'd run out of time, and they drowned out the end of the line in the little red box. To be scarlet, like Santa dressed up on his sleigh. Now the door has gone missing, the lettering's rusted away. Laughing so hard that we cried, while the queue got impatient outside the little red box. The little red box. The little red box.
Nice. Nice imagery, that. I like that, yeah. Somebody just put, love the chords in the middle bit. Lots of people saying nice things about it. Somebody just pointed out that they'd seen a telephone box somewhere that had been converted into a library.
I mean, there's all sorts of great ideas.
They were selling them off. They were about sometime last year. There was an article I read in the paper. They was talking about how they were selling them off. There's quite a few library ones sort of dotted around, particularly in sort of rural areas.
I think this one fell through the net, though. Unfortunately, it doesn't look. I don't think anyone wants it for a library.
You could have rescued it. In fact, I saw a picture in the paper today. I didn't see what the article was, but it was Nile Rodgers standing in a telephone kiosk, and it was something to do with, it would have been David Bowie's 75th birthday. I can't see the connection myself.
Okay.
It would have been his 75th birthday today.
No, that's not right. Sorry, because he was born in January.
Or maybe it's the 75th year then.
75th, yeah. Oh gosh, God, that's a weird thought. Really.
There's somebody here. I think this might be a friend of yours, Karen Griffith.
Yeah.
She says, yes. I left one of the novels I wrote in a library phone box. Wonder who's reading it now. Nice bit of self-publicity there, Karen. Well done.
Who's reading it now? She's one of my author friends.
Oh, right, okay. Oh, so we were talking about it before, but Karen.
So, yeah. Yes, hello, Karen.
So that's quite an interesting starting point for a song, to start from an object.
It was a real... You know how sometimes things just pop into your head? I wasn't sure. The thing that I wasn't sure about was Little Red Box. I thought, I don't know if I like that, but it just kind of fitted with the tune.
Yeah.
And actually, and once I started writing it, it sort of just came to sort of...
It's quite evocative, isn't it? I mean,
I hope so, yeah.
Particularly for those of us of a certain age.
I mean,
there may be many people out there saying, "What on earth is a telephone box? Is that what they get delivered in?" You know, I mean, it's
well.
And there will be very few out there who remember press button A and press button B.
Oh yes, I can remember fiddling around with that and sort of.
Yeah,
but
they were
we used to do all sorts of stupid things. I mean, I can remember with a couple of mates going in, and we decided we were going to ring up somebody. It must have been somebody's mum or somebody who we'd sort of or a teacher at school, possibly. I don't know how we got their phone number, and pretend that we were the Avon lady. But the thing was, we made the call, and obviously, the Pips, you know, the Pips would go after, so as if the Avon lady would go, and then it would go and then hello, Avon calling, and actually the person that we were pranking was very good sport and went along with it. And we were hysterical, thinking that we'd got them fooled. But then,
well, we'll leave that topic now in terms of winding people up and also not getting involved in discussions about party lines and other things. Yeah, have you written other songs about objects like that, inspired by things like that? 'Cause I mean, people are often inspired by things they overhear.
Funnily enough, do you know, I'd never thought of that. I have. I wrote one about a hat once called Beret Blues. Yeah.
There's a lot of red going on here.
Gosh, yeah, now you come to mention it. Do you know,
you know what the Freudians say.
And I'll tell you, and actually, I have never tried to play that song on the guitar, incidentally, Little Red Box, because I'd worked it out on the banjo, and then and then I was denied.
Yeah,
my banjo
for those of you who are intrigued by this, we did a sound check yesterday and realised that the banjo was, shall we say, too loud, a lot too loud. But I could probably hear it without a microphone. It's.
I think everybody, yeah. Well, I suppose it could have saved some internet, couldn't it? Really, could have just done it.
I don't think it quite works like that, actually. Oh, no, we've got hang on, we've got Martin Ansell here saying hello.
Oh, goodness me!
Lovely. Now, he was the guy that you were meant to be doing the gathering with, is that right?
That's the very one, my other half. Yes, yeah.
Right.
So he's yeah.
Okay, so songs. How long have you been writing songs? Have you always written songs since you first started playing guitar, or?
I think yeah, in some form or another. I mean, before I started playing the guitar, because I suppose I didn't start playing the guitar till I was sort of 11 or 12, I suppose, or so. And my mum, I really, really wanted to learn to play, and I was having piano lessons, and I really liked the piano, but I was taught the piano in a very traditional way.
Been there.
And I was desperate for a guitar, and but my parents said, "Oh, well, you know, we need to see that you're serious about playing before we spend good money."
Are we related, do you think?
Well, I mean, and so I've saved up my pocket money and my Christmas money for ages, and then someone that worked for my dad was actually selling one, and he wanted £5 for it, which just seemed like an absolute fortune. And I scraped together all this money and said, right, that's it, that's what I want. And they tried to talk me out of it. Well, I should have paid attention, and that was it. Once I got it, I was besotted. But to start with, somebody that they knew gave me a couple of lessons, so I learnt how to tune it. I think I had a few, probably 3 or 4 lessons, and this very patient young man very quickly lost his patience, I think, because I didn't want to play you know, the kind of things that he wanted to play, like, I don't know, what was sort of things like Auld Lang Syne and.
Oh, right, okay.
He used to, I think, you know, he was a good player, and he used to play in a sort of a trad jazz band, I think. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to play. I don't know what I wanted to play.
You didn't know at the time, but it didn't matter.
James Taylor and things like that. And so we respectfully very quickly parted company, and I had to sort of teach myself, which I sort of did in sort of scraps, really. It was I still sometimes think, gosh, I do feel quite envious of people who are taught by lots of people I know who are great guitarists and can do flashy solos and things, because I can't do that. But how did you learn to play? Where did it all start for you?
My cousin had 2 guitars, and one Sunday night, ironically, it was the night before one of my piano exams, and
okay. Did you hate, and did you like, I've just got to ask you this before you continue the story, how did you feel about piano exams?
My father was he was an accountant by profession, but he was an extremely good piano and organ player, but in a very set way. To him, music was essentially religious, so therefore, he was into the oratorios and all that sort of stuff, which I still have a liking for myself, but he had no idea what I was about. But so on this first Sunday night, I'd learnt 8 chords. My cousin John had taught me, and he had 2 guitars, and he said, all right, well, you can borrow one if you like. At which point my mother said, no, you've got a piano exam tomorrow.
Oh,
so
God,
I did the piano exam, and that was the last piano exam I did, actually, strangely enough.
Yes, yeah.
So that's how it started. But then at school, there was a group of us that were all sort of like struggling together, as it were. So that's how all that started. Yeah.
So who were your revered influences at the time then at school?
People like Bert Jansch and John Renbourn. I remember the first time I saw Pentangle, I thought they were just unbelievable. So there was that side of it.
Never saw them live, but
the point was there was a folk blues club in Swansea, and it was because it was the 60s and it was the blues boom. We used to get some amazing people there, like Mississippi Fred McDowell came and played in the pub in Swansea, and Reverend Gary Davies came, and all sorts, unbelievable people. So that's where I started. But this isn't about me. This is about you. So what was it? So the James Taylor you were saying shows a slight difference in our age.
Well, I mean, I loved the Beatles. I loved the Stones. I loved the Kinks. I loved Fleetwood Mac. I loved all of it. I mean, I would just hoover up whatever. I loved the Beach Boys and.
Oh yeah.
And the Mamas and Papas, anything with harmonies, I was just a complete sucker for. And then I suppose the thing about the singer-songwriter thing in the early 70s was, I mean, it was something that I could actually aspire to. I couldn't imagine with an acoustic guitar being a sort of skinny little kind of 11-year-old. I couldn't really. Getting an electric guitar at that stage was slightly a big step, but an acoustic one, that I could play to myself in my bedroom, was I could definitely sort of So that was when it really
you could aspire to it. I think that's the right word. Yeah, I can see that. So who do you listen to now? Do you listen to a lot of music from then, or do you listen to a lot of modern music?
I listen to a mixture, actually. I love jazz. I do. I mean, I still love, Dylan, Joni Mitchell. Yeah. I mean, one of the things that Martin, my other half, and I do occasionally when I nag him to is watch we've got the box set of the Beatles Anthology, and it's just still great. So that's late night, chilling out. I mean, I love. There's lots of great. There's just so much great stuff. Gosh, I don't know where to start really. Recently, I suppose the likes of Bon Iver and kind of.
All right.
I mean, Leanne La Havas. I don't know if you've ever heard of her. Oh, I really, really like her. Yeah. But I mean, I listen to, because I do some teaching. I suppose I tend to hear some current things. I don't know. It's a weird thing, isn't it? Because it's quite tribal, I think.
Oh, absolutely. I think
and obviously you can't join the same tribe. You can't belong to the same tribe as somebody who's 30 or 40 years younger than you.
Yeah, so. but there's also another side to that. When we lived abroad in Italy, I used to do a bit of teaching guitar, and I had a lot of students who were sort of in their teens, and I'd say, well, I don't do conventional teaching. Tell me the sort of songs you like, and I'll work them out, and then we can learn like that. And they'd come back and they'd say, well, Neil Young. Or Paul Simon,
Cat
Stevens, and all these sort of people. And I'm thinking, well, not even your dad was born when those came out, you know.
Wow.
And it was quite strange. And there is something, I think there is something about, I'm not saying that it was better, but it was more, the process of writing in those days appeared to be more refined, in the sense that people learned by playing other people's songs, whereas now that people start writing before they've actually really learned anybody else's songs, you know, which I find quite strange. But yeah, and I think the other thing is that there, you know, coming back my song again, there is so much that is produced these days. You know, an album coming out is not an event anymore, as it was in the 60s. You know, people queuing around the block for the next Beatles album, sort of thing.
Yeah, unless it's Adele or something, but then it's streaming, isn't it, I suppose?
Yeah, it's not quite.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, do you think that, because I certainly spent a long time, I mean, I definitely did learn other people's songs, but I mean, I was very keen on writing my own, and imagined when I first went to do a gig, I thought, well, you know, I've got sort of 10 songs that I've written, and then realised that actually I was going to have to do something a bit more kind of universal to win the crowd over. and I think you learn your skills, I mean, not just as a musician, but as a writer by covering other people's songs. I think.
Absolutely,
Don't you?
Yeah. I spent 6 years doing a weekly gig with a big band.
Oh,
where we had
God,
lovely.
We
We had a pad of somewhere around between 550 and 600 songs, all fully arranged. And that was an amazing experience. I loved doing that. It was just phenomenal. And, you know, you get to understand how songs, how they're made, you know, looking at the Great American Songbook. And we could talk about that all night. But I think we should have another song from you now, then.
Oh my goodness! Well, I was just thinking, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to play. Actually, I think I'm going to do one. I'm going to do one, which again, this is a bit new for me. So you're going to have to excuse me if there's some strange chords.
The inadvertent.
Which there might very well be. Because this. I normally play this on my banjo.
Right.
But it's about my dad anyway, and the thing is, and it's also about, it's not just about my dad, because it's kind of we're talking about, oh God, a bygone era. He used to have this surgery which overlooked the auction. There was a huge cattle market. I grew up in a sort of a country market town, and there was a massive auction, and everyone would come in to to town to do their thing, to do their farming thing. And incredibly, I mean, I can't believe it now, but when we were little, my mum would, you know, take my sister and I shopping, and when she'd reached, you know, a boiling point, she would sometimes leave us at the surgery with Dad, so that he could, because he used to come home for lunch, and he would bring us home. So we would have to entertain ourselves while we were there, and we used to. So it was great when that happened, because we could either go in the workshop, because my dad was a dentist, so, and they used to make all the false teeth there and things. So that was just brilliant. And then, or we could also, if then when they'd had enough of us, they'd say, right, off you go and sit in the waiting room. The waiting room was absolutely dire, because all it had in it was sort of, you know, copies of, I don't know, The Lady, and sort of ancient copies of, you know, the Radio Times and things. And or we would go and sit in the surgery, and I mean, looking back, I just cannot believe that hardly anybody ever objected. We'd sit on the windowsill and watch my dad working. And
whilst he was extracting
while
teeth?
He was actually extracting teeth. I mean, if it was a bit brutal, we'd be sent away. But, you know, fillings, examinations, denture fittings.
It's a form of entertainment, I suppose.
It was great. It was extraordinary, actually, really extraordinary. So yeah. Anyway, so Anyway, dear Dad, he died at the beginning of the year, and this was written a couple of years ago when he wasn't very well, and we thought, you know, actually his time might be up, and it wasn't quite. But this is for him. So anyway, and it's called The Tooth Fairy. My old man pulling teeth up the stairs in Whitburn Street. Me and my sister side by side, gulping as he told them open wide. You could almost step inside. Through the window you could hear the bellow of the auctioneer. Sheep and cattle bought and sold, farmers' faces red and chapped with cold. Saturday's market day, underneath the arch in the pouring rain. Up and down the busy streets, where everybody knows everyone by name. And far away the whistle of an old steam train. Don and Jeff out the back, making models out of wax. Warned us not to touch the flame. Burned my finger and they said it was a crying shame. But I only had myself to blame. Up and down the narrow hall, patches on the wall where the paper's stained, and people in the waiting room reading magazines that never changed. And far away the whistle of an old steam train. My old man buzzed his drill, gave the bravest soul a chill. Silver beads to plug the holes, used to smell of talc and oil of clothes. Saturday's market day, underneath the arch in the pouring rain. Up and down the busy streets, where everybody knows everyone by name. And far away the whistle of an old steam train.
Lovely. You've obviously struck a no pun intended. You've struck a nerve with the dentist. Kevin Farrell's written Cheshire Life and Thompson's Holiday catalogues that were 4 years old, with a waiting room staple. Yeah.
Oh
yes.
God, yeah, dismal.
Yes. Dismal things. Who else have we got saying hello? Beverly Baxter saying hello.
Oh.
Yeah. Martin Ansell's wondering whether you're drinking tea or whether it's time for something else.
I wish it. Well, no. It's her tea. You can see there's no red wine in mine.
It's funny you don't know this, Martin, but we were talking about this. I was telling Debbie earlier on how I saw something on the internet today, and it was somebody on a Zoom call sitting with a cup like this, and you could see the the tea bag, the little bit of string hanging out the side of the cup like that. And then when the shot moved round, you could see that actually the little bit of string just went over the top, and it was stuck with a piece of sellotape, whilst the person was drinking red wine from the coffee cup, which I thought was. But this is definitely
soon,
coffee.
Couldn't it?
Yes, we're nearly at beer o'clock, I think. So where were we? There was somebody else saying hello. Oh, got a hello here from Susie Regazzini, who's a friend of ours from out in Italy. What else we got? Oh, John Clark suggesting that you should do Mr. Bojangles. He reckons you could do a killer version of that. Yeah, it's funny.
Okay, well, I'll have to learn all the words.
Funny enough, John, that crossed my mind as well. Press button B and hope to get money. Well, we know what that's referring to.
Yeah, okay.
John, Karen again. Yeah, somebody here saying Joey Locascio. I don't know. Do you know that?
No, I don't. No.
Some of my regulars are in, as usual. Good. Nice to see you all, folks.
That's
good. Kevin's saying, lovely song. So he likes your dentist song.
Personally,
I'm terrified of dentists and things. A piece fell off my tooth 2 days ago, and I can't get in to see the dentist yet, so I'm dreading that. But moving swiftly on from phobias. Bad experiences as a child. So I'm intrigued. You say about the jazz as well. You were saying about your dad was into jazz, but purely as a spectator, as it were, rather than a performer.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, yeah. But he was, he really was. He really loved it. And he would. We used to, and as the years went on, and he got more deaf. He was a very keen gardener, and and he also used to like kind of doing. He was a keen fisherman, keen gardener, keen, and he would do whatever he was doing, bottling fruit or or gutting a fish, with a radio turned up to an absolutely deafening volume. My mum sort of kind of.
It's all very evocative, actually. I have to say, it suddenly sort of blended into a scene from something like All Creatures Great and Small, then, with the fishing and the gardening and the bottling.
We lived
of fruit.
it, that was it was. It's really true.
When you were talking about the market before, I can remember, because my mum was very fond of having spent many years as a child on a farm. We used to go to markets quite a lot, and I can remember the first time going into the auction room and being told to stay very still, or else I might accidentally buy myself a cow.
Oh, hilarious.
Yeah.
So did you actually grow up on a farm then?
No, not at all. No, it's just my mother's family were from West Wales, and they all had farms up there. So we would go and visit there. And when my mum was a child, her and her sisters used to spend the summers up there on farms in West Wales.
Whereabouts in West Wales?
Aberystwyth.
Oh, fantastic!
We went back there actually. Went back there. The first time I've been back there for many years. Leslie and I went there a few months ago, and it rained solidly for 3 days, but it was wonderful. We had a fantastic time. Gorgeous.
Yeah, but that's the Welsh way, isn't it?
It is indeed. Yes.
We used to go. That was our summer holiday. Was a week in Wales. We used to go to Tywyn was and Llangrannog we used to go to as well, which. And if we just thought it was great anyway. But if we had 2 days without any rain, that was tropical. That was.
Well, there was 70 mile when we were there. We got as far as 70 mile an hour winds coming in off this. We actually did one of those "is he waving or drowning" scenes, because we saw somebody swimming, and we definitely weren't sure whether he was waving or drowning, but he got out luckily. So anyway, back to songs. See the things, you've got all these evocative ideas, and you're channeling us off into different things, but that's all right too. So have you got anything planned in the future? You were telling me that you were meant to be doing a...
Well, the next thing that Martin and I are doing, the Gather in February, that's the sort of the next definite, that's the next big thing. And apart from that, I'm not really sure. We'll probably get odd bits and pieces coming in, but it's been, we had a few nice things over the summer, but of course now it's kind of, I suppose we've all got to wait and see what happens. What happens really, which is a bit kind of
difficult.
I mean, we were going to go and see Joaquin Cuda, Ry Cuda's.
Yeah.
And apparently, I mean, he hasn't been able to do his tour, and then Gretchen Peters, I was hoping to see, she's postponed. I mean, I think it's all a bit kind of everyone's a bit cautious, I think.
Okay, let's go on to something more positive then. Let's have another song.
Choose
your weapon.
Choose my weapon, right?
We're going to do 3 or 4. I can't remember.
I think you. Oh well, I'll do. If you want me to do 3, I'll do 3. If you want me to do 4, I'll do 4. But first of all, I've got to untangle my strap.
The disadvantages of changing guitars.
Oh, I know. That's the trouble with not writing every song in the same key, isn't it, really? Yeah, perhaps I should. Okay, this is called Train Between Stations, and actually, lots of things lots of things inspired this, but one of the things that inspired it was, have you ever heard of there was a blues harmonica player called Paul Butterfield?
Yeah, Paul Butterfield Blues Band, yeah.
And I really for a while I worked with a guitarist who was just absolutely idolised him, and Mike Bloomfield as well.
Yeah.
Because I'd never heard of them till then. Anyway, this was kind of inspired by a couple of tracks of his. I mean, not the lyrics so much, although trains do crop up, don't they? But there was one that had a rhythm a bit like this, and it really, I think it's called In My Own Dream. And I don't think I didn't manage to do it properly, but it was enough to write a song, hopefully.
Go on.
Woke up this morning, wiped the sleep from my eyes. Mountains were falling from stone-coloured skies, and a new day was dawning, like a train between stations that never arrives. Looked in the mirror, counted all of the lines, the past and the future, if you follow the signs. And the world keeps on turning, like a train between stations that never arrives. Right, we've got tickets to ride. Right, we're leaving tonight. Just as long as we're moving, I guess we're alive. Woke up this morning, then I pulled down the blinds. It's like I'm sleepwalking, always one step behind. It's just the way that I'm feeling. I'm like a train between stations that never arrives. I'm just a train between stations that never arrives.
Nice. My friend Kevin Deere saying, nice jazzy tone on that guitar.
This is my
good
old
sound.
friend. This is my probably my oldest friend, guitar friend.
Right, okay. There was an interesting little change you did in the middle of that. There's like a sort of bridge piece where you dropped to an F and then an F major seventh or something other. And very, very nice, very tasty.
Thank you very much.
I like that a lot. What was I going to say? Do you And you mentioned earlier on, when one of the first things you played, you said that you did the lyrics for somebody else. Do you collaborate a lot for writing with whoever?
I have collaborated. I haven't. I suppose sort of. Not a lot, but sometimes. I mean, I have. Yeah, I've sort of done various things with friends. I've done a fair bit with Sally, and then. Yeah, a couple of other. I mean, Martin. I've done a couple of things with. I've got another friend, Lucy Ray, who's another great singer-songwriter, and we've had a go at, thrashing a couple of things. A friend of ours, Rod, who's written with some, very, very, very famous people. Done some stuff with him. I mean, it's really. I think, it's a weird thing, isn't it? I think. Have you ever done? Well, you are, right?
No.
At the moment with Hugh.
Yeah, we're trying. We haven't got very far yet. We've agreed a direction on it, and we've got a sort of idea of what it's going to be about. But seeing as we're not in the same room, and we're not even in the same city, nor even in the same county, it may take some time to do this. But no, I wrote a song with. In fact, it was the first person the first two people I had on this show when we were doing it as a live thing, and we'd co-written a song. But no, it's not something I've done. Something I would like to do. I have to say, although I know when I've tried in the past, I found people quite resistant to it. Like they were. I found that people, I'd play something and I could see them. Oh, that's interesting, and not joining in with it, but just trying to store it away to use at a later date, sort of thing. And I'm thinking, hang on a minute, that's not what this is about. Maybe I just picked the wrong people. I don't know. So, so what the guy who talked, Martin, is it the one you?
Yes.
Yeah. So, do you write? Do you hear songs, your songs, or?
We write separately, but occasionally we've written together, and we've done a couple of projects sort of jointly. But I think it's weird, isn't it? Because I think if you I don't know. I think it's got to be. Maybe the time's got to be right. Maybe you've both got to be in a kind of sympathetic space. Yeah. In some ways, I suppose it makes it easier if you've got something to write for, like a
deadline,
a
something. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Or a particular thing where you know that you've got to turn out a kind of, something, kind of particular, a song in a particular genre. But I think, and certainly, I'm sure we've all done plenty of trying to write a pop song that sounds like this or that, or I think it's sort of sometimes the nicest things happen just by accident. I mean, certainly like for me. I mean, Little Red Box, for instance, that was just a real kind of just one of those things, and a couple of things that Martin and I have done have just been, I had an idea, and then just suddenly. One of us has picked it up and then it turns into something else, and what you hope is that it turns into something which is greater than the sum of the parts, as it were. Is that what I mean? Yeah.
Kevin just put sympathetic space, spot on, empathy with kindred spirits.
Definitely, and I mean, I think also that's very naughty. People sort of listening to you and thinking, I'm going to use that. That's
I mean, they didn't say that, but that was what the body language said to me.
Yeah, no.
So I'm thinking now. But
find a different
and the only other things I did write quite a lot with a singer some years ago, but then in that instance it was very much I wrote the music, he wrote the lyrics. And we didn't actually. When we co-assembled a song rather than co-wrote it, if you know what I mean.
Because you sing as well. So I mean, when you were writing together, did he do the lyrics and the tune of the song, or did you do the tune of the song?
In the main. In the main, I would come along with a sequence of chords with a rough melody over it, and then we'd sort of chat about it for a bit, and then he would sort of say, well, maybe you, and we'd maybe sort of structure a chorus. I mean, this is like 20 years ago, so I can't remember quite, but I think we did like sort of more sort of I'd present him with something, and then we might say, all right, well, let's add a bridge to it, or a chorus to it, or whatever. But there was always there was a starting point, and then if the melody was implied from the chord sequence, then fine, but then that might change again as it went on to the next stage. But it was an iterative process. So yeah, I feel like you've asked me more questions than I've asked you.
Well, I know it's. I mean, you know,
it's a chat.
It's interesting. Yeah.
It's good. Listen, I've had a plea here from one of your friends to let you do 4 songs, so I can't really refuse you, Karen.
Oh my God! Well, that's a bit sort of time is money, you know. I mean,
not in this game. Time is no money in this game.
I don't know what to do actually, because it's sort of straight. I think I'll try and do an object one, since we're on a kind of a red thing.
I'm liking that idea, I have to say.
On a red tip.
Yes.
Okay. Shall I just play it and then?
Yeah, go on.
Oh, okay. I've got the red beret blues. There was this guy that's hardly news. I sang in a bar. He'd blow kisses under the streetlight. He walked me home through a storm. Wind in our hair, rain in our shoes, and he gave me his hat. Now I've got the red beret blues. Oh, fire with fire, we would fuss and fight, but how could I stop when he held me tight all through the night? But I had a love from before. I wasn't free, he knew the score, and he told me to choose faithful heart or fiery lover down by the underground train. Just as the doors were starting to close, when he threw me his hat. Now I've got the red beret blues. Fire with fire, we would fuss and fight, but how could I stop when he held me tight? Warm and so bright, we said goodbye on a train. Just as the doors were starting to close, and he threw me his hat. Now I've got the red beret blues. Yes, he threw me his hat. Now I've got the red beret blues. Now he threw me his hat. Now I got the red beret blues. I got the blues. Oh, 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 those red beret blues.
Great. I'm still intrigued by the red references here.
Well, I'd never noticed it before. I think I need to go and see a therapist.
Yes.
Perhaps I do.
Make sure it's not a Freudian.
Oh.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Listen, I've put up your Bandcamp thing so people
Thank
can
you so
go and listen
much.
to your music. So when can people come and see you play and where?
Okay, well, the definite one is the 19th of February, online and live in Ennerdale.
Right.
That's the only definite thing, but it should definitely be worth coming along.
Where's Ennerdale then?
It's up in Lakes, so down the road, up the road from you.
Absolutely,
actually,
I've got 4 gigs in the Lakes over the next month.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, it's only a stone's throw from here. So
I suppose it is. Yeah.
So where are you?
Dorset, deepest,
Oh,
darkest Dorset. It is a
Right.
bit deep and dark at the moment, actually. Yeah.
It's
very
pretty
sad when
it's like that everywhere. So Debbie,
suppose.
thanks for coming in and playing for us and chatting. And
Thank you
we've gone
so
in all
much
sorts
for
of wonderful
asking me.
directions. I'm still thinking about the auction rooms and the cattle, and me standing there still hoping that I haven't accidentally bought a pair of bollocks, as they say. Oh no, that's bullocks.
Brilliant.
Isn't it?
That's a great story.
Yes, it's yeah. I'd forgotten all about that. It was going under the marketing command. Anyway, I'm digressing now. I'm digressing again. You're a bad influence, clearly. To me. It's been loads of fun. Thanks. Look after yourself.
Thank you for having me.
Absolute pleasure.
Lovely to talk. Great.
Brilliant. Okay, look after yourself and
You too.
stay in touch.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely, stay in touch.
That was good. Yeah, that was very much a conversation, I felt. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Thanks to for my regulars for dropping in. I think that's all for this week. I do have somebody lined up for next week, but I've had a little message through saying that there might be a technical issue that we might not be able to do it. But anyway, I shall be here with somebody, and we'll talk more about music and all that sort of stuff. So thanks for listening, everybody. We're here every week. Check it out just go to talkingsongs.uk. It'll take you to the Facebook page. You can see who's been on. It's all archived on YouTube as well. And do join the group and come and join us. Okay, look after yourselves. Stay safe. Bye.